What this homeless man did when he saw a piano will leave you speechless. He walked in with torn clothes, a tired look, and everyone stopped chewing. "What is that homeless man doing here?" someone whispered. But nobody imagined that in less than a minute, that man would silence every voice and bring tears to even the coldest hearts. What you are about to see is a spine-chilling story, one to turn the stomach of prejudice and make the heart explode with emotion. And the most shocking moment is yet to come. If you love emotional stories, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. Here, we always have emotional stories that touch your heart. Now, shall we hear today's emotional story? The cold night wind dragged papers across the wet sidewalk. The yellow lights of a chic restaurant reflected in the puddles, contrasting with the surrounding darkness. Inside, laughter and clinking glasses. Impeccably dressed waiters served expensive dishes, while customers in designer clothes discussed business and travel. On the sidewalk, a homeless man watched the scene. Not for the luxury, but for the warmth, the smell of food, and perhaps for something more. Miguel, around 50, with a graying beard, tired eyes, and dirty but firm hands. His skin was marked by the sun and nights spent in the open. He carried a small, worn bag with a few belongings. Miguel had known better days, before the streets, before the cold, before the loneliness. But life has a cruel habit of turning upside down without warning. And now, all he wanted was a glass of water. Miguel took a deep breath, pushed open the heavy door, and entered. The warmth enveloped him. The muffled sound of the street gave way to elegant conversations and ambient music. But as soon as his feet touched the expensive rug at the entrance, all eyes turned to him. Waiter. Cold tone. "You're in the wrong place, sir." The prejudice was instantaneous, the looks cutting. A woman in a red dress instinctively covered her purse. A man whispered to his friend, laughing. Miguel, calm yet firm voice. "I just wanted a glass of water." The waiter sighed, already gesturing for him to leave. The tension rises. Customer, a tall, arrogant man in a suit. "Water? This isn't a shelter, friend. Go back to the street where you belong." And it was at that moment that Miguel saw it. In the corner of the room, almost forgotten, a black grand piano, gleaming under the soft light. Something within him awakened. Miguel took a step forward. "Miguel, I'll leave, but first, can I play a song?" The waiter laughed, shaking his head. "You know how to play the piano, sir?" Miguel just smiled. The manager approached. Manager, impatient. "This is a fine dining restaurant. The customers didn't come here to see a street performance." But before he could continue, a voice came from the back. Elderly lady, curious. "Let him play. Just one song." The room stirred with whispers. Some found it absurd. Others were curious. The manager sighed and gave in. Miguel walked to the piano. With each step, he felt the weight of dozens of eyes. He sat down, took a deep breath, and closed his eyes. No one there knew, but that man had once played for much larger and more demanding audiences. His hands hovered over the keys. The room fell silent. Even the cutlery stopped clinking. And then, the first notes are soft, almost timid, but filled with emotion. Miguel plays a melody that seems to converse with every person there. The sound echoes through the hall, entering every table, every ear, every heart. There was no more clinking of silverware, no more forced laughter. There was only music. A song that told a story no one there knew, but everyone felt as if it were their own. A child sitting with their parents leans forward, fascinated. An elderly woman discreetly wipes away a tear. Even the arrogant man in the suit, who had laughed at Miguel before, seems disconcerted, nervously adjusting his napkin. Customer whispering to his wife, He's incredible. Revealing flashback. A quick flash as the music continues. Miguel, years ago, at the peak of his career, playing on a crowded theater stage. A standing ovation. A young woman hugs him in the dressing room. It's his wife. Then, images of him in a hospital, holding her hand, and the empty bed. Miguel wasn't born on the streets. He ended up there after losing his wife, his job, and little by little, the will to go on. But the music never left him. Miguel changes the rhythm. Now, the music becomes more intense, more alive. It's as if it's challenging the entire room. You judged me, but now you'll listen to me to the end. A waiter who had wanted to kick him out leans against the wall, his eyes fixed on Miguel's hands. Face of an elegant female customer. She takes a deep breath, closes her eyes, and suddenly starts to cry. The sound of the piano seems to have awakened memories she had held for years. That music wasn't just being played, it was being felt. Suddenly, the manager approaches, worried about the lost time, and whispers to Miguel to stop. But before he can obey, voice from the back. Keep going. It's the elderly woman who had asked to let him play. This time, her voice is firm, almost a command. The entire room agrees with a collective murmur. The manager retreats, defeated. The man in the suit who had humiliated Miguel stands up and walks slowly to the piano. He stops. He watches. And then he discreetly leaves a note on the instrument without saying a word. Second flashback. As he plays, Miguel remembers the day he lost his house. The bank taking everything. Friends who disappeared. His last job as a music teacher ended when the conservatory closed. He had lost everything, except the gift of playing. Miguel begins to play an extremely complex classical piece that only experienced pianists master. Two young musicians who were dining look at each other impressed. Musician 1 in shock. That's Chopin, and he plays like a master. Now several customers take out their phones to record. The video begins to spread in groups and on social media even during the performance. Waiters and chefs crowd the doorway to watch. In the middle of the song, Miguel stops. He looks at the room. Absolute silence. Miguel, low voice. I have played for crowds, but never for people who needed to hear it as much as you do today. The entire room remains silent, waiting for him to continue. Miguel starts again with more force. The notes are now of victory, of overcoming. It's as if each chord is saying, I'm still here. The elderly woman smiles, proud. The child claps. People stand up from their tables. Miguel reaches the end of the song with a prolonged chord. The sound echoes and the silence that follows is so profound, you can hear emotional breaths. And then, an explosion of applause. Shouts of bravo. People approach to thank him. The applause continues to echo. Miguel, still seated at the piano, lowers his head, almost embarrassed by the attention. Some people are already approaching with tears in their eyes. Customer 1, emotional. That was the most beautiful music I have ever heard in my life. A waiter hands Miguel a glass of water, this time with a genuine smile. The elderly woman who had asked to let him play stands up and walks slowly toward him. Elderly woman, Miguel, you don't remember me, but I was at one of your concerts more than 20 years ago. You played Nocturne that night, and you saved my marriage." Miguel, surprised, smiles and shakes her hand. An elegant, middle-aged man introduces himself. "Man, I am the director of a music conservatory. With a talent like yours, it would be an honor to have you as a teacher." The entire room murmurs, excited. Miguel, in disbelief, tries to refuse. I have nowhere to live. I have nothing left." "Man, then you will. The position is yours and we will arrange a place for you to stay." Miguel closes his eyes and takes a deep breath. For years, all he had known was contempt and closed doors. Now, for the first time, he saw doors opening again. The child who had been watching him approaches and hands him a drawing made on a paper napkin. Miguel, seated at the piano, surrounded by hearts. Miguel holds the drawing with trembling hands. In that instant, he realized that he hadn't just silenced everyone in that restaurant. He had awakened something that was dormant within himself. Hope. Final reflection. Never underestimate someone by their appearance. Behind torn clothes, there can be a master. Behind calloused hands, an artist can reside. And sometimes all that person needs is a chance. And you? What would you have done if you were in that restaurant? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear your opinion. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for staying with me this far. But get ready, because the next story will be even more emotional. Click on the recommended video and continue to feel that there is still humanity in the world.